Okay, so here we are. We're going to do our air brake test. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to chalk our tires. So you can see, make sure your tires are chalked front and back, driver's side tire. We're then going to enter the truck, make sure we're using 3 points of contact: handrail, door, and foot. There's your 3 points of contact getting in the truck. Gonna sit down, close the door. Gonna go ahead and put on my seatbelt. Seatbelt's getting latched in. Alright, seatbelt's on. First thing I'm gonna do, I'm pushing these brake knobs. Brake knobs are released. Verify we're in neutral. Foot down on the clutch. And go ahead and start my vehicle. Okay. All right. Vehicle started. I'm ready to conduct my commercial air brake test. My first test is my governor cutout. My governor must cut out no higher than 140 psi. All right, I'm gonna rev the engine up. We're gonna keep an eye on this needle right here. This is our primary gauge. We wanna make sure it doesn't go past 140 psi. So we're watching it rise. See, we're about 105 psi right now. Remember guys, the P is for primary, so we're only watching our primary gauge, okay? Alright, so we heard it cut out. Alright, my governor cut out at 125 psi. I know this because my needle stopped rising, okay? And my second test is my governor cut in. My governor must cut in no lower than 100 psi. So to do this, I'm going to push the brake down. Just push it down, release, and step on the gas. As soon as the needle starts to move, is my governor cut in. All right, look at that. My governor cut in at 110 psi. I know this because my needle started to rise. Okay, so my third test is my low air pressure warning device. A light and buzzer must come on between 55 and 75 psi. Let's go ahead and pump the brakes down until that light comes on. All the way in, all the way out. All the way in, all the way out. All right. So it looks like my light and buzzer came on at 60 psi, which makes this a good test because it's between 55 and 75. All right, my next test is my applied brake test. In order to do this, my tanks must be filled to maximum capacity. All right, when my tanks are filling, let's go ahead and do an in-cab inspection. All right, so we're gonna start with safety first. So I got a fire extinguisher that's secure and fully charged. I got 3 reflective triangles that are secure and good condition. I come over here and I got light bulbs and fuses in my glove box. I have 2 seats that are properly secured to the floor. I have 2 seat belts that latch properly with proper tension and have no rip, tears, frays, or cuts. My door opens and closes. My window goes up and down. And my mirrors are secure, clean, not cracked or broken, and adjusted to me. My windshield is clean and clear and not cracked or broken. My windshield wipers are secure with proper tension and working properly. My windshield wiper reservoir, which is located outside of the vehicle, is secure, filled to the proper level, and not leaking. My weather stripping here is secure and not leaking. From there, we're gonna go down to our gauges here. So we got our gauges. My oil pressure should be between 40 and 60 psi. My water temperature should be between 150 and 200. And my volts should be between 12 and 14 volts. All my gauges are working properly. My heater and defroster is working properly. My fan knob is working properly. My washer, wiper knob is working properly. And my light switch is working properly. All my buttons, knobs, and switches are working properly. I have a city horn and a highway horn that's working properly. I have a left turn signal and a right turn signal that's working properly. My high beams and low beams are working properly. And my four-way hazards are working properly. I have a 20-inch steering wheel with no more than 2 inches of play is working properly. I have a clutch no more than 2 inches of play working properly. My brake and accelerator is working properly. I have a shifter that is secure and working properly. My splitter is secure and working properly. My airline is secure and not leaking. And my boot is secure and free of damage. My floor is clean and free of debris. This concludes my in-cab inspection. I will now continue with my applied brake test and fill my tanks. Tanks aren't full yet, so I'm going to make sure our tanks are full. So remember that. You get done with your in-cab inspection, make sure to go look at our gauge and make sure our tanks are full. If they're not full, we're going to continue to fill our tanks. Alright? Alright. So we're going right back to Governor Cutout. Alright, my tanks are now filled, so I'm going to continue with my applied brake test. First thing I need to do is turn off this truck. Alright, my truck is off. I can now lose no more than 4 PSI in 60 seconds. And I will be timing myself for this test. So, here we go. I'm going to step on the brake. Alright, as you can see, my pressure is reading at, we're going to say, 110. I can lose no more than 4 PSI in 60 seconds. Time starts now. Watching that needle, making sure it doesn't move. Foot all the way on the brake. Okay, we're going to elapse some time here. So we're going to go 58, 59, 60. Time is up. Alright, my needle did not move. So I did not lose any air pressure. I'm still sitting at 110 PSI. So this is a good test. I'm now going to release my brake. Alright. My next test is my spring brake test. Both these knobs need to pop out between 20 and 45 PSI. Let's see if it's going to happen. So we're just going to pump the brakes down, reducing our pressure in our tank. Keeping our eyes on these knobs. Alright, looks like both my knobs popped out at 20 PSI. We're going to say actually 25 PSI. So this is a good test because it was between 20 and 45 PSI. Alright, so my next and final test is my parking brake test. In order to do this, my tanks must be filled to maximum capacity. So I'm going to make sure I'm in neutral, put my foot on the clutch, and I'm going to start the vehicle. Alright, now when my tanks are filling, I'm going to get out of the truck and I'm going to unchock my tires. I'm going to get out of the truck. 3 points of contact, butt first. Coming out, unchocking my tires. Trying to make sure we stow our tires behind the seat, so they're out of the way and don't interfere with our pedals as we're driving. And we're going to get back in the truck, 3 points of contact. And sit back down, close the door, seatbelt on. Alright, I'm going to continue to fill my tanks. We want to make sure we're at maximum PSI and our tanks are filled to maximum capacity, in case our parking brakes fail, we have enough air pressure in our service brakes to stop the vehicle. We never want to move the vehicle until we're at least 100 PSI or full. Okay, because the more PSI we have in our tanks, the more pressure we have to apply to our brakes to help us stop this vehicle. Remember guys, the key to doing this air brake test is understanding what we're doing for each test. Even though it's an air brake test, we are still taking each test and testing each system of our air brakes. And we can only tell what's happening by this needle. This needle is our only indication to tell us what's happening with our air brakes, our tanks, pressure, everything. This needle here. Alright, my tanks are now filled to maximum capacity. I'm going to continue with my parking brake test. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and push in my clutch all the way to the floor. And I'm going to go ahead and put my truck into low gear. Depending on what truck you're driving, if it's a 10-speed, you'll put it in first gear. If it's an 8-speed, we're going to put it in low. Okay, my first test I'm going to test my parking brake by releasing my trailer brake. So I push my trailer brake in. Trailer brake is released. I'm then gonna slowly let my clutch out until I feel a nice little tug. All right, felt my tug, so it held, so it worked. I'm then gonna pull my trailer supply out, and I'm now gonna test my trailer brakes by releasing my parking brake. So I push my parking brake in, and then I slowly let out on the clutch. Alright, I got a nice little tug. So it held, so it worked. Pull it back out. Then gonna take my stick and put it back into neutral, make sure I'm in neutral. Slowly release my foot off the clutch. And this concludes my commercial air brake test.